when I decided that I was so interested in the web that I wanted to make a career out of it, I truly felt like the door was open a couple of inches, and if I didn't walk through it at that moment in time, that door would close.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the AI Wave, the only podcast that combines the greatness of AI in business with a little touch of Rhode Island. And why not make Rhode Island the leader in this AI revolution? Just announced how we are pushing our leaders and all of those involved in Rhode Island to say, hey, let's create an AI task force so that we can study this. We can make sure that we are proactive about it to mitigate the negatives, mitigate the job loss, and mitigate the impact, but also take advantage of this once in a lifetime opportunity that we have. And why not here in Rhode Island? Make it the place, the hub for this AI revolution, starting with creating an AI task force. So talk to your friends, your colleagues, your elected officials and say, hey, yeah, we should create an AI task force. We should make Rhode Island the leader in this AI revolution. Why not? And we have a great guest today, Anne-Marie Harrington, that talked about this as well. She feels the same. She sees the power that we can harness in this great ocean state, and she's been in the thick of it for the last 20 plus years. She's a startup founder herself in web and tech, and she's very successful at what she does. And now she's helping out other entrepreneurs and founders. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in the business, if you want to learn more about how you can use AI in your daily life, this is a great episode. So get ready, strap in, buckle up, and get ready to ride this AI wave. All right, today on our episode of AI Wave, we have Anne-Marie Harrington. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, Chris, thank you. I'm pleased to be here. It's great that you're doing this podcast. I'm super excited.
Well, it's great to have you on here. You know, Anne-Marie and I have a relationship for many years, and we've been talking lately about AI. I said, hey, why don't you come on and share everything that you've learned about AI over the years and how you've been using it in your daily life. But before we get there, Anne-Marie, I want to go back, because AI is a form of technology, and you've been in this technology space, pioneering it, especially for women entrepreneurs, for a few decades now. Tell us about how you got there to that point.
Yeah, actually, it has been a few decades, which makes me feel a little bit old, but I don't know. I still feel really young, especially with AI.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's invigorating to have this new technology. But yeah, I actually, I started working in internet and web in 1994. Built my first website. Actually, I was a social worker. I have my MSW. I have my business degree undergrad from Bryant University, but then got my master's. Go
Bulldogs.
Yeah, go Bulldogs. And decided that I wanted to go back to get my to grad school to get my social work degree, and was working in social work, and I was working for a nonprofit, and they didn't have a website. So this was 1994. And I had just started to hear about websites and was highly intrigued. So I said, I like art. I've always been interested in graphic design, and I've always loved how things are made, kind of the engineering part of my brain. Although there weren't computers, there was maybe one computer when I was in high school and a very small computer lab when I was in undergrad, but was really highly interested in this thing called the web. So in 1994, I decided that I wanted to teach myself. I mean, there weren't classes back then. There weren't anybody who was doing it, other than some people I knew at Brown University who were building websites. So I consulted with some of them. I asked the executive director of the nonprofit I was working for as a social worker. I said, "Hey, we need a website. Can I build a website?"
And she said, "What is that?"
Yeah. She's like, "Yeah, go ahead, do that. Sure." And I said, "I need to buy some software." And she's like, "Great, go for it." But it is funny. Not a lot of people knew what the web was back then, and really there weren't a lot of choices. It would be interesting to go back and see how many websites actually were there in 1994. So I built a website. I deconstructed the HTML. You could actually back then in some of the old-fashioned browsers could go and view the source and see how the website was built. So I would grab pieces of the HTML and then pop it into the to the builder and just built a website, and built it in 2 weeks and absolutely fell in love with it.
Wow. So
I thought, oh my gosh, I am now a social worker, got my master's degree, had put all this time and effort, and I absolutely love social work, but I was like, you know what, I think I like building websites a little bit more. So got into that. for 16 years, built a business. 1998, I started in Bolden. Was based in Pawtucket.
Yep.
And built that business over the years from being, just a website builder, right, to a full-service marketing and web agency. So we built a lot of custom web apps, lots and lots of websites, did lots of marketing strategy, really soup to nuts of web strategy and building, and built that for 16 years.
Wow.
We had clients all over the country. We worked with a lot of financial services, philanthropic, nonprofit clients. And in 2014, I was approached by a private equity firm out of Kansas City who had a software as a service company that was in his portfolio where they were very interested in our financial services and philanthropic clients. And gave me an offer that I couldn't refuse and said, yeah, I'm ready to be acquired. And worked with them for about 3 years after I was acquired, which left me as a free agent in 2017, 18. And after that, decided that I really wanted to work in the startup and entrepreneurship ecosystem. So since then, gosh, it's been 6, 7 years now, have worked with probably a dozen startups, early stage tech startups, and probably just as many as a mentor, from really informal mentorship to working closely with the startup and helping them on their growth strategy, with their investment strategy, operations, and in some cases, their technology.
Wow. I mean, I can see that there's 2 lessons that our audience can get out of that story, that amazing story that you had. And one lesson is that if you can see a trend, just like we're seeing this AI trend, you got to take advantage of it. And number 2, if you're passionate about something and you're really interested in it, even if you got your master's degree in something else, you go for that because you're going to, number 1, enjoy more what you're doing, and you're most likely going to be very successful at it. And you're a great example of those 2 lessons personified in your success in your industry, in your business.
Well, thank you for saying that. I remember very clearly when I decided that I was so interested in the web that I wanted to make a career out of it. I truly felt like the door was open a couple of inches, and if I didn't walk through it at that moment in time, that door would close. Mm-hmm. I think it's probably true because we were very much at the cusp. I think it's harder to start a business right now in web because a lot of people are doing it. But back then, nobody was doing it. So it was a big opportunity. I had a lot of opportunity in front of me to do it. I also truly believe that people can reinvent themselves. I went to Bryant University and have an undergrad in business management, and then went to Rhode Island College and got my master's of social work, and then went back into business. So kind of toggling around until I finally found what I was truly passionate about. So I love talking to people about their careers, particularly younger folks who think that they might be on a particular path. Where you can, if you truly believe in yourself and you want to do it, you can completely change your career.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great message. You've been helping many young entrepreneurs over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And we worked together on a few of them. And I saw it firsthand. The type of mentorship that you provide them is much more than a technical expertise, right? You've been through it. You know what it's like. And you know when sometimes it's best to just say, screw it. Go all in on something that you know and passionate about, even if everyone's telling you no, right? That's also probably another lesson that you've learned over the years.
Oh, yeah, especially if people are telling you no. Right?
That is probably the right thing to do.
Absolutely, yeah. It does take, when you meet someone who is really interested and started a business or has just started a business, and you can tell right away, I call it the X factor, right? Do they have that drive and they can set everything else aside and say, you know what, maybe the odds are against me, but I'm going for it? Wow. I mean, that is just amazing to me. I have so much admiration for people who do the startups and or are working to grow, especially in tech. And now with artificial intelligence, I think it's, takes a bit of bravery to do that.
Well, there's a lot of great startups in our community, and there is a organization called Founders and Friends that we're having an event in August. So if you're in the startup community and you want to be connected with some other great startup folks, check out Founders and Friends on Instagram, and you should definitely attend the event. Maybe, will you be there?
Oh,
Maybe.
Totally be there. Yeah, it's in Newport.
It's in Newport in the mansions with one of the best entrepreneurs around, Carolyn, from from, all the great products she did, such as Alex and Ani. She has her mansion, and
Yes.
and we're going to be hosting it there, which is very exciting. Let's now we talked about tech, we talked about opportunities, and this podcast, the AI Wave, is really zeroing in on the impact of AI. But we're also letting folks know, and with our past guests, such as Dr. Prashanta Pal and others, that AI has been around for quite some time. It's just really getting mainstream lately because of the large language models. But how have you used AI in your career, and what kind of sparked your interest initially?
So it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
My interest actually has been kind of on the outside looking in and seeing the evolution of AI over the years, mostly through the eyes of cultural mainstream, television, movies, sci-fi.
Star Trek?
Yeah, Star Trek. I just rewatched Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. So now fast forward to last year, right? Where I felt that spark again of kind of as we move through my tech journey and my career, I have felt this before. We're at a moment in time where we can capitalize on a new technology, stay slightly in front of it or a little bit more than in front of it, and really be able to utilize it in your business to help your business grow, to help you with your own personal productivity. I've felt it before. I've felt it with the advent of the internet. I'm old enough to know that. When we started building websites, content management systems 20 years ago, felt it then. Felt it with social media, felt it with the iPhone, and now I'm feeling it with AI. Wow. And it's even more accelerated, right? You could take a deep breath back when social media started to bubble, right? You had a couple of months, 6 months, a year, people started to get on board and talking to consultants or trying to learn how to do it. Well, now, ChatGPT, OpenAI, November, right? November of 2022, all of a sudden it starts to bubble to the surface in the mainstream. That's when I started to jump on board. I said, okay, we're starting to see these applications that we can easily use on a daily basis. And it's accessible to anyone. Anyone can use them. So I use it every day. I have lots of examples of how I use AI.
Well, I would love to hear them, because one of the missions of this podcast is to educate our audience about AI, how it is accessible, how anyone can use it, and how they can adapt their business or just their career. So we would love to hear from you, someone that is well established and looked upon of, all right, if Anne-Marie's saying it, it's a true method. So let's just give like a few examples of how you use AI in your daily life.
Yeah, for sure. And I have these conversations all the time with people. And I'm not talking to the high-tech folks. I'm talking to an average people who are not in technology, who are doing repetitive work, or they are doing administrative work, or just something where I think, you know what? Log on to ChatGPT. You can use the free version. You don't even have to get GP4 and pay the $20 a month. Although I do advocate that you do that, because it's actually, it's the evolved, upgraded model. So the way that I use it, I'll give a couple of examples. And I've given these examples to folks, and one example would be, I had someone who came to me who had a list of zip codes, right? List of zip codes in an Excel column, a ton of them, like hundreds of them. And they said, I need to make these zip codes from column into one row with a pipe delimiter. And yeah, you could do this in Excel, right? Mm-hmm. You could run some formulas in Excel and do that, but not everyone knows Excel to that level. So I said, go to ChatGPT. I said, hold on, let me show you. I shared my screen with her, and I said, this is what you do. And I just grabbed a column, and I popped it in there, and I asked ChatGPT, I said, can you take these zip codes and put them into one row with pipe delimited? Clicked submit, and boom, they all just started listing, just showing up on the parsing on the page. And she was like, what? Wow. I use business intelligence software quite a bit, reporting software. I am not a high-level expert at it, but I know the business strategy, and I can build the reports, and I can tactically do a lot with it. But what I can't do is SQL programming, right? Mm-hmm. So SQL reports. So I work in Tableau quite a bit, and I had a bunch of reports that I needed to do, and I thought we were going to need to outsource a SQL programmer who could help with some of these Tableau formulas. So instead, I went to ChatGPT, and I said, ChatGPT, can you help me with these formulas? And I gave some overall, what the strategy is of what I wanted to do, and click submit, and boom, some SQL formulas came back. Wow. Now, I often say that these types of systems like ChatGPT are more like herding cats than herding dogs, right? You got to kind of like coach and, cajole and try to draw that information out. And it's not always right, but there were some back and forth. I had to know what I was looking for. Again, the strategy, not necessarily the coding, but I had to understand what I was trying to accomplish. Told ChatGPT that, and boom, got some formulas and was able to use them. And since then, I've become quite expert at having ChatGPT as my partner in writing this code.
Wow.
So huge productivity and time saver.
I mean, nothing like that would have been possible just a year or two ago, right?
That's right.
And, the technology existed, but you weren't able to communicate it with just through natural language. That's one of the biggest advancements that these LLMs have been able to do is it gives someone who's a non-coder the ability to generate a code or generate some type of SQL database function that we need to help enhance what you do. And, AI is not here to necessarily replace you, but enhance you. And now you're able to do what your main objective is, just more efficiently and effectively. And even if it saves you time, you can then use that time to be more strategic, look at that data and actually have the time to form that intelligence and insights from that data than opposed to just kind of cranking away or waiting weeks for someone outsourced to actually get the job right and take a while. So, those are probably some of the benefits of being able to use ChatGPT, for example.
Oh, absolutely. And you can play around with it too. People are intimidated by this.
They are.
I think initially when you talk about AI, people think it's going to take our jobs away. And it's way too high tech. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Or they think, okay, it's more like, maybe even if they don't use these words, like more of the foundational AI of like the Metas and the Googles and the NVIDIAs of the world. They just think it's not for them. So if you can kind of take a step back and say, what do you do on a daily basis, right? I write a lot of emails. I have a lot of interviews that I need to do. Well, let's just talk about interviews as an example. So I was working in interviewing someone, getting information out of, just wanted to have a chat. And so on one side, I was just texting some notes, just couldn't even see them. I was making lots of typos and just typing away. And at the end of the call, I took that information, popped it into ChatGPT, and I gave it some instruction. I said, give me the high-level pain points, what some of the opportunities are, and what the next steps should be. In my voice. So typed it in, click submit, and boom, a whole row came out. Here's the and I saw things that were embedded in my notes, but I didn't really see it in a clear way until it was read back to me. Typically, those types of tasks with ChatGPT are spot on. They're not, I don't see a lot of mistakes.
Right.
I see it kind of gets it. It even took it to the next level and gave some suggestions based upon what I saw. So if you can see doing that with 5 different interviews and then taking all of the notes from all 5 interviews, putting it back into ChatGPT and say, write me a short memo on what the best next steps will be for this project.
Right, or even asking them, based on these qualifications, you could submit them to job description, which candidate do you feel would be best? Like you could even help it in your decision making as well.
Absolutely. And I would say a big caveat of that is, you still need to, I would advocate that you still have a very critical view of AI right now, particularly this generative AI that's giving you information back, right? You're putting it out there, it's giving you text back, it's giving you images back, it's giving you video-ish back to a certain extent, to be critical of what you're seeing. But for the most part, absolutely. You can get great recommendations. It can be a big shortcut. It can help you with your code. It can really be your personal assistant.
That's what we all say here at Trailblaze. Like we all have personal assistants now, right? That is completely advanced and they could be any expert that you want it to be. Fun little story, or not really a story, but I just saw online recently of a use case of AI related to interviews, and you're talking from the interviewer.
Yeah.
But from the interviewee, there's a technology out there that, let's say you have a video interview, like on Zoom or something like that. It's able to, in real time, transcribe what the interviewer is asking them and outputting a response of how you should respond to that interview question. So then the person on the screen will see the people on one, look at the automated response, and they could just say exactly what's on that AI screen of how to best respond to that question, right? So that kind of like, what does that mean? But at the end of the day, you can't fake being a human in the sense that when you're in that job and you don't really know what to do because you lied on your interview, it's not going to help you out. But maybe for those that get a little more nervous during interviews, it just gives them perhaps that extra layer of confidence that just because you're a more introverted person and may not do interviews well doesn't mean you're not going to be a great employee. So it helps with accessibility for those that, may not normally have been so great on an interview but know the job overall.
Absolutely. I hear the critique quite often that not only people think that AI will take jobs away, but they also think that it will kind of remove that ability for people to think on their own. And I actually look at it the other way. I think it helps make you smarter and faster and more productive. And again, having to be critical, wear that critical hat when you're getting that information back. But for things like the interview questions coming back, I absolutely love that. If someone can think about, okay, that was actually a smarter question than I was going to ask, but let me maybe change it a little or ignore something that was said. So I think right now AI kind of doesn't go super deep. It's pretty horizontally, it can answer a lot of questions and provide a lot, but it doesn't really dig super deep just yet. It will. It will. So it does best, I think, as a personal assistant right now.
Yeah.
For average people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. And, those are just some examples of how you and the audience and listening and watching this podcast can use. We just gave a few examples, but I was just talking to a woman who runs this nonprofit, wonderful nonprofit. She called me. She's like, please, can we chat? I've been watching your podcast. I know there's this AI thing, but I'm scared. You mentioned that I'm scared of it. I'm confused of it. I'm not technologically savvy. I said, it doesn't matter.
No.
Here's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Just log in, create an account. And she's like, you know what? I listened to your episode and I did do that when you told me to stop everything and did it. I said, well, what stopped you? She's like, I'm just not comfortable. Can you walk me through? Telling you, everyone here, just go on. Let's use ChatGPT. There's Google Bard. There's Microsoft Bing as well. That integrates OpenAI's GPT model. And just go ahead and ask a question. So she was like, hey, I want to do a lot of social media posts, but I'm not sure how to do it. Like, how can I use AI? I said, all right, well, let it know that it's an expert at social media copywriting and that this is the tone that you want. And this is all about your business and your mission and messaging. And give it, some 10 social media posts that you want it to generate for you. And then you can go edit it, right? To your point, you can't just receive the output and send it out to the world. You have to really be critical with what it's giving you as an output. Edit it in your own words or in your own style and make it your own still. But it's going to save you a lot of time, right? We talk about that human endpoints where the humans are starting it with, let's say, a prompt, let AI do like 90% of the work. And then at the other end, us humans will be editing it and maybe saying, you know what, that response isn't great. Can we try it again using this style or whatever it may be? But go ahead, try it professionally or even personally. I mean, I think you mentioned to me your personal trainer even started to use it or was unsure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, she did. She runs a business. She's a personal trainer. She's starting a business for online training as well. And had stumbled upon ChatGPT, and we started talking it one day. And I said, you can have it write some social media posts for you. I said, but actually, maybe what you can do is give it some information and say, craft some personal workouts, and then put in some demographic information about the type of client, what they're trying to accomplish, what kind of tools, or weights that you're using, and see what it comes up with. So she can actually get training plans or ideas. She uses it for an idea generator.
Right.
She's an expert at what she does, so ChatGPT probably probably not going to be better than what she can do, but definitely can give her some ideas.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I did that personally for myself. I wanted to go on a little diet plan or exercise plan. I let it know what my goals are, what my thing is. I was like, I'm not a vegetarian. So I was like, do not give that me as an option. So I even gave it like little stipulations. And then it gave me a great meal plan. Did I follow it? Not so much, but it gave me a great meal plan that I do try to follow, and even a workout plan. So you could even use it personally. It doesn't just have to be for your business.
No, it doesn't. And actually it brings up a good point, because I have two things that happened to me recently. People are afraid of starting to use it. And I think an easy way to do it is to use it for fun. Maybe just to go in for fun. And I use it all the time for fun. So rewatching Battlestar Galactica. And as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, gosh, there's a kind of a plot hole there, right? And so I went to ChatGPT and was like, remind me what happens when, and just asked a bunch of questions. And it gave me what the plot holes were, what some of the critiques have been, what the reviews are. And if I asked for spoilers, it would give me spoilers, because it has, in its model, it's been trained on all of the episodes and probably what a lot of people are saying about the episodes and the critiques and the reviews of the episodes. That's a really fun way to go in and just play with it. I asked one time for an alternate ending to The Sopranos finale. So they didn't die, and I don't know. Some people think they did die, but in this version, they definitely didn't. They went on. Tony retired or whatever it might be, but kind of fun. So whatever your hobby is, interests, just go in and ask it questions. You can even have it do things in the style or voice of someone else. So you could say, here's my bio. You take your bio, you pop it in and say, rewrite my bio in the style of Jerry Seinfeld. It will do that, or the style of anyone. Why? Because the model has been trained and has Jerry Seinfeld jokes and style and tons of information on him. So it's able to take what you give it and then give it back in the style. Oh. So it's kind of a nice way to get into it without a lot of intimidation. And the other way is just take something that you've already written. And I do this a lot. Just take what you've already written, and all I tell ChatGPT to do is I just say, make it better. And then it will make it better, and it will be like really maybe a little bit too professional. I have a pretty casual, laid-back style. I'll say, make it more casual. It might be too casual. I say, make it a little less casual. And then by the time, if you give it enough of your own data, it will learn your style. You can say, do it in my style, and it will give it back to you in your style, like you wrote it. So start with something you've written. You don't even tell it to write anything for you.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the education space. And when these folks in higher ed, we have a lot of great universities here in Rhode Island. I think Rhode Island can be the leader in the AI revolution. I actually propose creating an AI task force. Just announced that recently on the B-Town podcast, and hopefully soon, maybe even by the time this is released, we do have the formation of the AI task force so that Rhode Island could be the leader in this AI revolution when it comes to education, when it comes to jobs, making sure we mitigate the job loss, make sure we prepare our skill force for these new jobs in the AI economy, and also invest in our startups. And there's no one to better talk to than our startups than you, Anne-Marie. You have been in it, you are a founder yourself, and you've been working with a lot of entrepreneurs and startups, in the past 6 to 7 years. So my question to you is to speak into that audience, our lovely entrepreneurs in the startup scene here in Rhode Island and beyond. What advice do you have to them specifically related around AI?
Well, first of all, thank you for your leadership. When you talk about leadership and AI, you are at the forefront and leading the effort, and with things like this podcast and the task force. I was born in Rhode Island. I went to undergrad, grad school, started a business here, and have always lived here. I love Rhode Island for a lot of reasons. And one of them is I love our culture, and I love the business history and culture here. The birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution is here. And we can do it. We're just the right size to be able to lead an effort like this. So thank you for the work that you've done. We can do it. We have what it takes to do it. So where do we start? Like you said, all of those places you've talked about and all of those efforts, including investment in startups and entrepreneurs. I started working with entrepreneurs before AI was a thing, right? And now it's what everyone talks about. So when I work with startups, particularly around AI, I've actually shifted where I've been working with a startup for 2 years. And now they come to me and say, or we start talking about what are some of those opportunities for AI. You don't use AI for AI's sake. You don't use it or decide that you want to build something because you think you'll get funding for it. You use it because it makes sense, you're smart about it, and you build it into your growth strategy. I would say most of the startups that I've worked with, it absolutely does make sense to utilize it. If not, build something, not an NVIDIA or a Google or a Meta, that's the foundational, but build an application that is sitting on top of those technologies and utilize them to build features and functionality into your tech. I work mostly with tech startups. Or use it for your own productivity and efficiency. So that's what we start with, is to say, okay, let's look at the platform and what makes sense. If we could speed things up, be more productive, provide some sort of feature or enhancement, and dream about it from a high level. So just as an example, there's a marketplace that I'm working with where you can search for things, right? You can search for something, and you could do it the old-fashioned way, which is query a database, right? Which makes sense. Or you could bring in some of these language models like an OpenAI to help answer questions that are related to the business that may or may not be connected to the database. But we have a wealth of knowledge that's out there where you can actually connect to a chatbot, have a conversation, help with customer service, or search for something that is related to the database that you have. So really thinking fundamentally about what will help improve the features, functionality, and really growth of the startup is the place to start. Don't do it because you think everyone else is doing it.
Right, that's a great point. Just don't do it for the sake of saying, hey, we incorporate AI in your pitch deck, right? Because it's not going to work out. Yeah. But if you could utilize AI to enhance what you're currently doing, make things more efficient, or add features. I mean, when you mentioned that, developing applications, right? Maybe that's something that can be a startup in itself. It reminds me, and we talked about this with one of our past episodes with Toye about the boom of the Apple Store. When that first came on, and you have all these iOS developers using that language, that platform to create an app in a new marketplace. It's similar today where now with OpenAI and other applications, models that you can create brand new applications built on OpenAI's API, and so that's definitely a route that they can go. But that's a great message. Don't just do AI for the sake of saying we are an AI company. Do it if it only makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've heard funders say there's some smoke and mirrors out there, and people saying they're utilizing AI and they're not really using AI. And I think that goes back to just being smart about it. What's going to help me grow this company? And you can start small too. I mean, WordPress. When AI people started saying, okay, I really would love to be able to utilize AI on my own website. Well, a couple of months ago, WordPress came out with a plugin, or someone came out, a third party came out with a plugin for connecting your website to OpenAI. It's a plugin, works pretty good, gets good reviews. So a real easy way to kind of ease into this from a tech perspective. Maybe it's a chatbot, conversational chatbot on your site. Not like the old school chatbots, right? These are ones that are just very natural.
Those chatbots hated me. Here's hey, how can I help you? Is it one of these 4 things? No, it's not, And then you just fight with this chatbot, but now it can understand, have a conversation with you. And that's a great example for any business out there. Just from a customer service standpoint, you could utilize AI through some type of chatbot that you can build yourself and feed it. Here's what my business is. Here's my invoice. Here's my contracts. Here's how our business operates. Here's the business model. So we can know everything about your business. And now you have a whole extra customer service department available 24/7 for your clients.
Absolutely. And you don't even have to build it yourself. I mean, HubSpot has AI built into it for its campaigns, its content campaigns and email campaigns. There's a great platform out there called Drift, which is a conversational bot that you can purchase as software as a service. And it can not only have a conversation with you, but it can connect to the data on your site as well, push things to people. So there's a lot of tools out there that you don't even need to build yourself to use in your own startup to help with your efficiency and productivity and operations.
That's great. And when we talk about startups, we think about high growth and the future of our economy. And let's think about the future of AI. So I'm going to really get your thinking. You love the sci-fi. You've watched
yeah.
all the films. Where do you realistically see AI going? And I'm going to say in the next 5 years, because the next 5 years is typically when people ask the next 20 years when they ask these questions.
Yeah.
5 years in my mind is probably equals 20 years in normal growth. But because it's so exponential, 5 years is going to happen really quick. Where do you see AI evolving over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, it's kind of like the new dog years, isn't it? The new AI years.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, well, in a couple of areas. One is I can't talk about AI and the future of growth and Rhode Island, right, without talking about our universities here, right? We have lots of great universities and colleges here, and several of them have applied math, data scientists, data analysts. I mean, those jobs are going to grow, and they're going to be super marketable. My hope is that some of them can stay, many of them can stay here in Rhode Island and help us grow with those great degrees that they're getting from our fine universities and colleges here in Rhode Island. So where do I see it go? I don't go directly to Cylons for you Battlestar Galactica fans out there. The Cylons are the robots that look like humans, and yeah, that's kind of the nightmare scenario. Although I don't want to do any spoilers, but I won't talk anymore about that. Where do I see AI going? I think AI is going to be embedded in everything that we do in our daily life. I think, so let's talk about content creators. I think that right now, generative AI, which is essentially generating content or image or video, any kind of content can be generated from whatever you think about, right? So that's going to get way, way smarter. The thing that I'm excited about is the generative AI for video. Right now, it's kind of nightmarish. I don't know if anyone has seen the 5-second, 10-second clips that we were starting to see. It's very difficult to have more than one image kind of put together and create anything that makes sense and doesn't look like it was out of a nightmare. I'm really looking forward to that. Where content creators, the 50 million plus content creators who are building videos will be able to use generative AI to do just about anything that they think, from TikTok videos to motion pictures.
I was going to say, it's going to disrupt Hollywood.
Absolutely.
It's going to level the playing field. You do not need to be a huge studio in order to have a successful movie these days. You're not going to have to hire a whole host of production and animators. You are going to be able to generate that, and you could already see the applications today. I saw some applications where you got to record the video yourself, but you can point on what the figures are, so let's say the people, and you could tell it to transform that figure into a robot. Let's say if it's a movie about robots or whatever it may be, and it will seamlessly change that figure, change that person based on all of their actions into anything that you can dream of. So imagine that for Hollywood studios. They're probably thinking, oh, this is great, I can cut down costs, but they're probably already thinking about, oh, wow, a lot of independent artists are now going to be able to do what we do at a hundredth of the price.
Oh,
so that's
absolutely.
exciting as well. It's going to create more diversity in content. I mean, right now a lot of Hollywood's very unoriginal. Well, because it costs so much. But if you have the ability to level the playing field, we're going to see some really cool ideas come to life.
Absolutely. And my hope is that it does level the playing field with any new technology or any new revolutions like this in the tech field. I worry about those that are left behind, right? Those who are not able to utilize this technology in their careers and really build their own wealth or careers and life from it. My hope is that it does democratize and level the playing field across the board. That's my hope, right? And with the AI revolution that we're in.
Oh, it's exciting. Well, this has been a blast. Anne-Marie, I appreciate your time. Is there anything that you want to share with the audience that you haven't been able to get out? I think we hit all the bases, but wanted to give you an opportunity there.
We did. We actually hit a lot of the bases. I've loved this conversation. I love talking about AI. And most people who know me that may be listening to this know that, kind of being known as the AI friend and family member. I would just reiterate what we've talked about before. In terms of what's happening here in Rhode Island, we can do this. We have great universities. We have great colleges. We have a lot of a growing and more robust every day ecosystem for startups. we can be on the forefront of artificial intelligence and all that it will bring to us. And for folks like yourself, Chris, who are bringing this to the attention of those who may not have heard about this before or know how they can actually use it in their life and in their careers. So thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for all of you done for our beautiful state of Rhode Island over the past 20 plus years, being an entrepreneur that we all look up to, and also giving your time back to these other entrepreneurs and startups. It's invaluable what you provide. We appreciate you, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Wow, what a great episode that was. Thank you, Anne-Marie, for joining us today. I learned a lot. I mean, those two lessons that we learned in the beginning of the episode, right? That you can change and pivot at any point of your career. That's what she did. And if you do what you're passionate about, even if you have a history degree, even if you have a social work degree, and you feel that, hey, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I'm going to do it. Don't stop. Don't let anyone telling you no. And honestly, if people are saying no, it's probably the best thing for you to do if you're an entrepreneur. So I learned a lot. I hope you learned a lot and also learned other ways on how you can incorporate AI. It's not that scary. You don't have to be a tech wizard in order to use it today. And that's what's so great about it. So but as always, please like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what your favorite part of this episode is in the comments below. Share it with your friends. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to today's episode and joining this AI wave.